Jack, you've been through this many a time or two. Just what are some of the challenges and things you have to do to take over a new room and kind of get them on the same page before you start spring practices?
Yeah, it's. I have been through it probably too many times. Hopefully, this will be the last one. I'd love to stay here and call it a day, but 10 years down the road. But mainly just getting to know the guys. I think in building a trust with them, that's so difficult. It's not like you just come in and that's automatically there. I think this is going to be probably one of the easier rooms that I've had to deal with because I think they are a veteran group and they're great young men. So I don't see this being any issue, but it is important to gain their trust, not only that you know what you're talking about, but then also that you're going to treat them right and you truly do care for them. And that's hard to just tell them you're going to do that, So that's the process. I think those are the biggest things. And then the rest of it's just football, and maybe it's a different terminology here or there. A lot of us are running similar plays, it's just different terminology.
A lot of these guys have Cincinnati ties, but you and Phil have worked together at a couple different stops.
Yeah.
How important is that relationship between you, the O-line coach, and the OC, and do you think that's going to help ease your transition?
Well, there's no question about it. I think it's very important, and I also think it definitely eases the transition. I'm not coming in and trying to learn a brand new offense like other places I've been. Phil and I are very close friends. Our families are very close. We were at Ole Miss together, and North Carolina, of course, and now here, and that's kind of the same thing I was talking about. There's got to be a trust there too. That he's got to trust that I'm going to, coach my guys up well, but also coach them up exactly the way he wants them coached up and run exactly the way he wants it done. And, when you think about it, when an 11 guy goes out there, half of them almost are offensive linemen. So, and those guys have to do it precisely correct or else the plays will never get off, So I think you're kind of seeing that around the country now, like offensive coordinators are kind of get O-line coaches that they're comfortable with, and then they move together a lot of times. So, but he's a great guy and a very good personal friend as well as I love this offense. It's the best offense in however many years since 1986. I don't want to count them up, but it's the best offense I've been around, I feel like, to have success, and it truly does give, it takes whatever the defense gives you.
What you've learned about Wisconsin's offensive line and how they've operated before, and obviously what you know about Coach Longo's offense, can you describe how the responsibilities will change of what the offensive lineman here will be asked to do relative to what they've done in the past?
Yeah, it's not going to be much. It really isn't. It's a different style offense, but within what the offensive linemen are doing, it's not that much different. If we run a gap scheme, we're going to deuce to the backside backer, the guard's going to pull, and so they're used to that. And then outside zone, inside zone, maybe a little more draw than what they're used to. To be honest, I haven't absolutely studied exactly what they did last year. I have watched them, but more watching the players. And I have a good idea what they did, but it's not going to change that drastically as far as what those 5 offensive linemen are asked to do. Now, what goes around them, will change, but and kind of the philosophy of the offense will change. But I mean, they're still going to have to block, pass protection, and so it really. And believe me, we want to run the ball if it's given to us. It's not like we're saying, well, we're just a pass-happy team. Not at all. I mean, we're going to run the ball, and we may have one less blocker in there doing it. We might take a fullback or something, put them out at receiver, but we're still, those 5 offensive linemen can be very similar.
Coach, when we talked to Coach Hitchell, he made it clear that he wanted to kind of keep things the same, but kind of add his own touch. Is that kind of the same messaging you've had?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this has been a huge tradition of offensive linemen here at Wisconsin. I mean, I've known that since, 30 years of looking at this place. I remember when I was at Kansas City, I was getting all their tape, watching the outside zone, studying that. They did a great job of that. So, and so a lot of this is already in place as far as I think the mentality of the players. And it's nice to have a little bit of a veteran group where there have been some guys out there playing. So, yeah, I mean, all of those things you want to, keep intact. And it really, I mean, it's for my guys, it's not going to be that much different, And so all the good things that they've done, certainly respect that. All the tradition here, very much respect that. And let's face it, it's going to be on the offensive line to do a good job this year, and it always is. So I mean, it's not like this is unusual, but I think we'll go as the offensive line goes probably.
Obviously, different O-line coaches have different philosophies. Some guys want to cross-train guys so they can play multiple positions for versatility. Some guys stay at your position, learn. Do you have a general philosophy on that? Do you want guys to stay at one position and learn that spot, or do you?
Yeah, it depends. For the most part, I'm from the NFL. You know, after spending time there, like if you're Brandon Albert and we just signed you for $60 million, okay, you're a left tackle and you're not moving. Everybody else, you're moving. You know, because when you send 5 guys out there, you got 2 guys standing next to you. One's got to play guard and tackle, one's got to play center and guard, and there is no such thing as left and right. You know, so you might have a veteran guy that they're going to be kind of staying right there. But, and then you might have a young guy that just came in. You're not going to move him around yet. You know, you're going to let him learn what he's doing. But, you know, like a Trey Whittick just popping in my head right now. He's got to know guard, tackle, left, right. He's going to be kind of the and you'd love to keep him on one side, except, you know, what if the left tackle gets hurt? So I try to approach it like, look, there is no left and right. And try to figure out who can play center guard, who can play guard and tackle. And then if a guy's struggling, obviously, he's not the guy to move around, you know, which you've had that before. Let's just keep him right there, see if he can learn one thing, you know, but other guys, you can have that flexibility, which is great.
You've inherited a group that has several linemen with starting experience. I don't know how much you've had a chance to study them at this point, and I assume talk to them a bit, but can you share your perspective on what you think of some of those guys?
Yeah, well,
Jack or Riley or Tanner, guys who
yeah, I mean, first of all, they're huge, of course. I mean, and, you know, that's the first thing that struck me when I first got here. You know, I'm not used to my head creaking up that high. And so, yeah, I mean, they're again, I kind of purposely didn't just sit there and study all 12 games or whatever. You know, I got a feel for who they are. But I wanted it to kind of be a fresh start, you know, and I wanted everyone to feel that way. You know, look, I just got here. Let's just, you know, we're going from scratch. And what I told them was, you know, I really don't select who the players are. You guys select who the players are, you know. But I certainly have a lot of respect, and I understand the guys that have been out there and playing. And there's a certain edge to that, you know. There always is, you know. Once you've maybe been out there and understood that if I take a wrong step, somebody could get really hurt, then it just becomes a whole different deal. So I'm going to be relying on all those guys to, you know, Michael Furtney's been around forever, you know, and, you know, even Jake Renfro, even though he hasn't been here, he's played. So, and like I said, Trey and Tanner and all those guys. So we have some guys that have played in games, and that's really exciting.
You mentioned that size difference, and Phil mentioned that last month. Does that open up anything for you guys in this offense, just having that much size on the offensive line? Is a little different than your past experience? Yeah,
you know, it's there's a lot of shapes and sizes for offensive linemen. You know, you could be, you know, my left tackle last year was 6'4", 300 pounds, and he did fine, but he had other things that, other strengths and also weaknesses probably. And then, you know, some of these big guys are going to have strengths and weaknesses too. So there's a lot of ways to get it done, I'm saying. Like just pass protection, for instance. Okay, if you're not that big, like when I was at the Steelers, I had Kelvin Beachum. He was an undersized tackle, so he had to really cut down the angle and get on those guys before they got going. And that's going to be our philosophy anyways. We want to be real aggressive in pass protection. But, you know, a guy with length, you know, and size like that can make up for maybe a little bit of a lack of feed or whatever other deficiency he has because he's so big, you know. So there's a lot of different guys, shapes and sizes out there, but I personally like having big offensive linemen because they're never going to get overwhelmed. And, you know, if you're 6'3", 300 pounds right now, that's really not quite big enough. I mean, it's crazy. I played center for crying out loud. Shows you how long ago that happened. But they wouldn't even look at me like at Division III right now. And so that's kind of a phenomena that I just don't understand. Like, how do these kids get so big? Everybody asks, I'm 300 pounds. How are you 300 pounds? Like, you know what I mean? It's just amazing. So, but yeah, I like those big guys and I think they can cover up people and then, in protection and the run game.
What did you tip the scales at back then?
255. But I played in the Cotton Bowl my last game, and I said, that's it, I'm going to eat like crazy and try to get 260, which I did. But that's how crazy, I'm 6'1" and a half basically, 5'8" actually, since I'm talking to the media, let's get it straight. But 6'1" and 5'8", 255, and that's what linebackers are or whatever now, So I just think about it, another 30 years, I'm going to be, 7'4", 400 pounds, I don't know. If it keeps going, right? Somebody should study that. Like, what's the difference? But anyways, I'm glad I played back then.
So, Jet, talking about recruiting-wise, what's going to be your approach to recruiting offensive linemen here with your resume, but also knowing Phil's offense, but knowing the precedent that's been here with Wisconsin offensive linemen?
Yeah, it's funny. Like you kind of get that old adage, like, well, we've run into this in the past. Well, you don't get preparing for the NFL, because it's not an NFL style. Well, in the case you watch the Super Bowl, that's exactly our style now. So that whole baloney has kind of gone out the window. The NFL is evolving more and more to what we're doing. And so now I could say the same thing about an under center team that doesn't throw the ball. So that's the biggest thing is that, when we're recruiting, number one, you're going to come to a place that when I was in the NFL, if you had a Wisconsin lineman that you're looking at, you paid pretty close attention, because you knew they just had a string of success, and the Big Ten and the whole deal. So, I mean, if you're an offensive lineman, this is kind of the place where you want to be, in my opinion. And I do think my NFL experiences helps because I can say, look, I've developed you since you were, a junior in high school, and I've talked to guys just like you, made them first-round draft picks, kind of developed them. And I've also been on the other end to know exactly what it takes. And it is different at that level. Subtle differences, but as always, the minute details make a big deal once you get up to the highest level. So that's kind of I think Coach Fickle and the way he runs this program, everything's positive. I love that. Everything's positive. We don't dwell on the negative. We search out the positive things and talk about that, and so I just think recruiting-wise, look, I mean, I don't know how to do another thing in the world, but I do know how to coach O-line, and I've been doing it for 36 years or whatever it is, I don't even know, but and you got a chance to come here where you're going to be developed not only just in the run game, but also pass protection, and we're running the same offense, very similar offense to a lot of those teams now, and particularly those two teams in the Super Bowl.
Jack, kind of going off that, just whenever we talk to receivers and quarterbacks, it's very exciting for them, the new offense. How is it friendly or exciting to offensive linemen? The new offense?
You know what? It's number one, it's very aggravating to do a great job. All five guys do a great job, and the safety's 1 yard and they make the play. Because now the O-line coach is terrible, and so is the O-line. As opposed to, okay, if that happens, we're going to throw a post over his head, and now everybody's happy. You know what I mean? And that's where I really love it, is that we're not asking those guys to do things that don't make sense. And so I kind of call it focus players, but we're not always the focus player. We might throw a screen out there, we might get it out of our hands quick. The quarterback may pull it and run. Well, if the quarterback throws a screen or pulls it and run, our five guys are over here doing whatever. It doesn't matter. We might have just whiffed on a block, and we throw an RPO for 60 yards, So in that sense, it's O-line friendly, I think, and it's very simple, So it sets us up for success. And as a coach and as a player, I think that's really exciting.
Some of the linemen and even running backs talked during the whole prep about their excitement of not facing so many 8 and 9 man boxes. Maybe
Yeah.
you were alluding to that a little bit before, but how much of a difference do you think that makes for an offensive line in general with the way that you guys operate for them to have success up front?
Yeah, that makes all the difference in the world to me. I mean, it really does. And a lot of people are going to say, well, we're going to take what they give you, but I'm not sure they do it all the time. Now, there's going to be times when we don't do it. Somebody makes a mistake, but there are answers built into every one of our plays to take advantage of what they're doing. And to me, that's the difference. In the NFL, it was totally different. So we won the Super Bowl when I was with the Giants, but it was, you know, we got to motion a receiver in to try to block this safety, but then once we do that, that corner's not going to add on, and you know, so it's just not what our philosophy is, or what my philosophy. You know, as an O-line coach, I don't want to have to do a good job and then still not have success. And you know, like I said, I mean, if they're going to give us the run and they're going to take away the RPOs and all that, we're going to run it, and it's not going to be that much different. You know, there's no different. I mean, we're running power or counter or inside zone, outside zone. Same thing for my guys. I mean, same exact thing. It's just that if the extra safety shows up, we might be throwing a post instead of trying to block them. I think is some of the things, some of the differences.
We've asked a lot about it from a player's perspective. What's it like from an O-line coach coming to Wisconsin and the tradition they have here?
Yeah, that's why I'm here. I mean, I had a pretty good job, you know. I mean, it wasn't like I was struggling, you know. There'd been other times I had no choice but to come. But, and I think Coach Fickle was a big draw, you know, just because I think he's the real deal. I really do. He's a guy who truly does care for everybody and very intense. And I just feel like he's going to have success. And to be honest, Coach Longo knew him better than I did, but we both were thinking. And then you come here to a tradition. I've never been in the Big Ten. I'm excited about that. I've been in a lot of other leagues. Never really been in the Big Ten. So as an O-line coach, this is kind of, I mean, like I said, 30 years I've been sitting there watching Wisconsin and saying, man, there's good offensive line. And then when I was in the league, I wrote up all those guys, you know, and I remember, you know, all of them really just writing reports on them. So it was just, you know, the opportunity to come to a place where I feel like the offensive line here is maybe more respected or more thought of or whatever than maybe some other places that are thinking more about the receivers, quarterbacks, you know. And so I don't know, that was really attractive to me.
Because Phil knew Fickle better than you and you trust Phil, did you use him as a resource to say, okay, tell me about this guy, about working for this guy? And
yeah, definitely. And that's what, you know, do they not know we have a press? I mean, does this ever happen to Biden or anybody? Are they serious? But anyways, it's upsetting. I mean, no, I'm just kidding. What was the question? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, exactly.
Because you knew Phil, did you use him as a resource to say, hey, tell me about Luke?
Yeah, but I mean, I think I had a good feel for what he's all about, maybe through Phil, honestly.
Okay.
Phil had been friends with him and, you know, would always talk about him. So that's been 3 or 4 years now, I think, that I've heard of him. So, but yeah, just like everybody else, if you really respect someone and they say, I really respect this guy, okay, that's good enough for me, you know. And so that was a big part of it, because I had really actually never even met him before coming here. So, yeah. It's more like, you see the power I have?
I know you've only been here for a couple of months, but Pat Lambert, Matt Steinecker, kind of part of the recruiting staff, how would you describe them and how have your early interactions been with them?
Yeah, they're fantastic. I mean, their energy levels are ridiculous, first of all. Everybody's energy level around here seems to be pretty good, but no, they're as good as I've been around. They really are. I've been around some good ones, you know, and they are all over it. And of course, in this business, that's absolutely critical that we, you know, it's funny, it's becoming the NFL model more and more every year. You kind of have the personnel side and then you have the football side. And then those two, sometimes, you know, like at the end of the year, I'd kind of put my personnel hat on and write up reports. And so, you know, that's definitely seems to be the way that it's going. But those guys have done a fantastic job. They're on top of everybody. But the biggest thing is the energy that they bring. And yeah, I mean, I've been around a long time. They're two of the best I've been around.